Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Mysticsense series on Mercury Retrograde. Today with us is Psychic Meow with Mysticsense. Before we dive into our topic, could you please share a little bit about yourself and your spiritual practice?
Oh, yes. Well, I was kind of born into this. Uh, Hand raised, aunties, parents, everybody was supportive of my gifts. Um, my dad, who's a total academic, it was just easier for him to call me a free spirit and just deal with it. I have been practicing since I was 14 years old with the community. I'm 54 now, so that gives me 40 years experience. Um, I started one of the very first video chat websites for psychic readings, but that became very apparent that psychics and business, not always the best. So I'm gladly here at Mysticsense. They're doing everything right. And I'm having a great time just sharing with people what the great creator wants them to know. And I work with multiple tools. Sorry, not gifts. My gifts and multiple tools. I have 7 guides, and they all have really obscure ancient names like Lady of the Western Universe, Comet, Red Hair. So it's hard sometimes when I'm in chat because they talk so fast. I make a lot of typos, and I always have to explain that to people. But they are my primary guidance. They are the ones that really pull through. Sometimes I'll pull out the pendulum just to get a little bit more accuracy, like if we want to know a month, a date, or a yes or no question. I work with over 20 different decks, um, everything from the original Rider-Waite to angel oracles. I mean, I work with them all. They're all on the same premise, unless you start getting into Crowley and all that, and I don't do anything dark. I am purely a white witch. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm sorry, I just brain faded. I am a real person, as you can tell. My clients seem to be attracted to that. They come to me because they want authenticity, and that's what I deliver. And I'm finding more and more people are leaving reviews really appreciating the honesty and the not sugarcoating. And I don't do it in a mean manner. I do it in a loving, motherly manner. You know, we're all the same tribe. And the gift that I was given is meant to help the others in the tribe. So I explore different oracles. I explore different religions. Just for knowledge, and what I have a doctorate in theology from Wesleyan University. I have a master's in psychology also from Western University, because at one point I thought I was going to go the straight life. But lo and behold, I'm always going to be who I am. And that's why I'm here to help others.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and your background. It's great to hear different people where they came from and how they ended up here. So let's dive into our topics, our questions then with our first. Yes. Our first question, what is the impact of Mercury retrograde on communication, technology, travel, and how can individuals navigate these challenges?
So do you mind if I give you a true explanation of Mercury retrograde? Because people think it means it's off its axis and going reverse. It's not. It's still going in the same pattern of the solar system. It just exceeds its speed. And by doing that, it laps the Earth and the Moon faster. This is what causes all the problems in communication, technology, relationships. You say something, you mean one thing, but the other person hears something totally else. So there is a handful of do's and don'ts that are really good to adhere by to navigate through this. You never want to sign any contracts during Mercury retrograde. Just wait, it'll end and you will be right where you need to be to sign that contract. The major thing is to slow down and take time. Really, really, really use Mercury retrograde for your benefit. It's a time for us to look inside at ourselves, journal, make sure that people are not confused by our communication, which takes accountability. It's a time you want to, like if you send an email, you want to 3 times check it. You want to read it 3 different times and try to be hearing it from the other side. Same with letters, messages you send, etc. You want to be very patient with others because they're going through it too. And Mercury retrograde tends to make us feel aggravated. This last Mercury retrograde, we had the Sturgeon moon in it, which threw in a whole dynamic of affecting the water signs as well as the Leos and the Virgos, which is what this Mercury retrograde was in. When you start getting into that many categories of the zodiac being affected, it gets big, really, really big. And that's where more miscommunication can happen. You want to pay attention to your computers, your phones, anything electronic. If they start blitzing, either stop using it till the end of Mercury retrograde or find some help for it. You really want to spend the time reflecting on your goals, reflecting on your journey, because this is what you can do to make Mercury retrograde work for you, which gets me into my list of what do you do during that Mercury retrograde, not what to avoid. And that's where you just want to be ultra aware. Sorry, the broken nose thing is clogging me up. So we covered the do's. We want to cover the don'ts. The don'ts are do not engage in any contracts. We already covered that. Don't rush into important decisions. Don't try to persuade somebody to come to your side on an opinion. And don't make major purchases. Don't travel if you can, because that's all technology. And it's really just a time where you really, really want to reflect on yourself, set your goals, and you can move forward, because what Mercury retrograde actually does is gives us a time for reflection so that afterwards we come out an upgraded person and we can really use the trials and tribulations that we went through by being introspective and accountability. For some people who are newer to this, haven't really mastered the Mercury retrograde, I highly, highly suggest getting a reading with an advisor. Find out how that Mercury is affecting you specifically in this journey and how to work with it. A psychic can help you with that the same way as they can help you with the past. Lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just basically a time to recharge, regroup, set new goals, move forward. There's a lot of ways that you can make it a lot easier on yourself through the Mercury retrograde. You can use crystals, you can use herbs, you can use combinations. Those are all helpful. Again, you can seek an advisor and find out what's best for you to use. But some of the basics are like blue lace agate, a wonderful calming stone that will help you calm down and not be affected as deeply I mean, how was your Mercury retrograde?
I had a hard time this cycle. I definitely felt it. Usually I do pretty good, not being impacted much. But this time, definitely, I felt it a lot. The scheduling, especially, it was a lot of scheduling problems. Miscommunications happened, and I'm still feeling the effects a little bit. I definitely am still feeling it.
Let me explain that. So when Mercury comes out of retrograde, it's not like everything's good again. It takes 5 to 7 days after the Mercury retrograde dates to really come into the system correctly and everything to calm down and solve. So that's probably what you're feeling is the backlash. Do you work with any crystals? Do you work with?
I have a lot of them around. I have a lot of grounding and protective crystals.
Yeah, I see the hematite, right?
I'm not sure what this one is.
It's black tourmaline or hematite.
It's black. I'm not sure what it is, but it's.
Well, both are extremely calming crystals and will help you through the anguish of all the miscommunication, everything going awry. There are things like peppermint, chamomile that you can make a tea out of and sip it before you go to bed, and it helps rejuvenate you for the next day. Makes you more on course, more focused. Because that's the biggest problem with Mercury retrograde is it, I bless you.
Thank you.
The biggest problem with Mercury retrograde is it throws us off of our focus and our consciousness. And it does that so that we start looking inward at what we need to be doing, what we should be doing on our path. If we can't figure it out, go seek an advisor. I have 40 years experience. I still get readings. You know, I can't read myself. And that is the best way to utilize this time to help you navigate and come out of it as that upgraded person that I spoke about before. It takes some time, and unfortunately, with that extra 5 to 7 days, we move into the next one shortly after. So we get a brief break. But our next one is November 25th. And that is under the cold moon, which, of course, is Yule for many. And that's going to extend until December 15th, which is the day of the cold moon. So this one's kind of set up a little different, where we're not having the full moon in the middle of it. Thank God. And we're going to get it at the end. But it'll be a powerful, profounding end because of the way it's flowing. I lost train of thought getting into the history of the moons and stuff. I'm sorry.
We might come back to that in a future question. I'm not sure. I think we can we can come back to that point in our next question about navigating the retrograde. No, actually, that's more of a prepared piece, I think, because it's coming up. We're preparing for it.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
There's a question about preparing for the Mercury retrograde. I think talking about that would be appropriate for that question.
Okay.
So first, let's move on to the tips. What tips can you offer for navigating retrograde challenges with grace and mindfulness?
Okay. How to navigate Mercury retrograde with grace. We're going to talk later about jar spells or talisman, but they are an essential piece of keeping the right energy focused around you. But beyond them, you can do simple things just like always retracing your steps, always double checking everything. Teas before bed, to help you wake up stronger, more revitalized, and more focused. Everything about Mercury retrograde is about focus, 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 because that's what it takes away from us. That's why the communication breaks down. We lose our focus. And there's crystals you can use, like black tourmaline, which you're wearing, fluorite, hematite, the amethyst. Oh, let me talk to you about amethyst. There is a brew I make with peppermint, chamomile, and amethyst, believe it or not. It's a tea, but it is the easiest way to get rebalanced in the middle of Mercury retrograde. Of course, you need to make sure that your amethyst is coming from a pure source. It's not a resin-made duplicate. You want to make sure that it's, actually natural amethyst. And what you do is you put it in your mug and you put in chamomile and peppermint and then hot water, let it seep. And you let it seep for a good 10 minutes. If you have to warm the tea back up, you have to warm the tea back up. But you want to get every essence out of the crystal and the herbs into that tea. Strain it and drink it. And I am telling you, hands down, it has made my life easier through Mercury retrograde 1,000 times. And there's simple little Mercury retrograde jars you can buy. They're little jar spells or talismans. And they're really easy to make at home. Most stuff most people have. And it's as simple as adding mugwort into a jar. You take a little jar. I like to use Old Spice jars just to recycle them. Put a little mugwort in there, and that gives you a psychic shield. That's the beautiful part of mugwort. Excuse me. Marjoram, major household common item. You don't make a turkey without marjoram. And I'm not saying margarine. I'm saying marjoram, the actual herb. And marjoram helps you with dealing with the unknown. It helps you calm and settle. So you're going to add that. Black salt. Okay. Maybe not everybody has black salt. I have black, pink. You got it. But it's easily found. Farmers markets, online, multiple sources. But you put some black salt in there because you need the protection. And that's not one you can skip. If you have black food dye, you can make your own simply by the black food dye is a gel. It's not liquid. You mix it all together and you have black salt. So you could buy it, little packet, or make it yourself. But it is essential for the protection that you need during Mercury retrograde. It goes without saying. I was talking to an officer once and I asked him, we had just come out of Mercury retrograde, and I said, how was last month? And he said, we had more car accidents last month than we have in 3 years. And that was the Sturgeon Moon retrograde we're just coming out of. So it affects everybody, and protection is number one needed. After you add the black salt, you're going to add lavender. We all know lavender is for cleansing, calming, clearing the mind of stress and invasive thoughts, the monkeys that get in our brain and then we're going to add mint. Mint is also for spiritual enhancement, similar to the marjoram, and funny again, something most people have in their cabinet. And green aventurine, that might not be one you have unless you're a crystal junkie like me, but you're going to add some green aventurine into that jar to encourage optimism, to encourage perseverance, and to make sure that you're going to be strong throughout this. And with each item that you're adding to the jar, you're going to add the intention. So if you want to rewind and write down what the intention is of each item, that's probably a good idea. I probably should have said that in the beginning. I'm sorry. I've never done a podcast before. I'm scared to death. And then agate. That's our last one. Agate's soothing, comforting again, and relieving emotional stress. And then you're going to need a white candle. Because once you get everything into this jar, you're going to put it on a paper plate. It's a great place. That's what I use. And you're going to light the white candle over the jar and let all the wax just drip down and seal the jar shut. And you're going to focus on your intentions while doing this. So that is one way you can get through Mercury retrograde. That is my own personal talisman that I use. I've given you my tea, the way I make it through. I didn't make it through this great. The ending of it, I smacked my head and broke my nose. At least everything else is okay.
Thank you for sharing that.
Nope.
I have a quick question. When you were mentioning the agates, is there a specific agate color or type that you would recommend for this?
With the agate, I find that the bluish agate, I can't think of the name of it. Do you know what I'm talking about? The bluish green?
Blue lace.
Yes, thank you. Blue lace agate. That's my favorite. That is my favorite. And, like people sell jar spells out there. And, if you don't want to go through the chaos of buying all the stuff and making it, you can go buy one. But you'll always see the blue lace agate in the Mercury retrograde just because it kind of has a spider web effect for protection.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So how can individuals prepare themselves mentally and emotionally for the effects of Mercury retrograde?
This is my favorite topic in the world. Because it applies to Mercury retrograde, but it applies to so much more in life as well. And what it is don't have expectations. Go in wide-eyed, aware. Don't expect anything good. Don't expect anything bad. Have no expectations, and you won't be let down. You just take what's coming at you as it's coming at you. You don't brew on it. You don't stew on it. You don't make it bigger than it is. But most importantly, I think psychic advice is critical during Mercury retrograde. I really think it helps people greatly. It's a small amount to pay. You pay more for coffee, honestly, in a month. Get a reading. Find somebody in your community. Go online. Of course, I'm going to promote Mysticsense. Find out how to navigate it personally. But the biggest thing is no expectations. None, none, none. Because if you have no expectations, you're never let down. And that not only applies to Mercury retrograde, but all life. But it's more important during Mercury retrograde.
It's interesting, the no expectations. I like that. Because really, if you don't expect something, whether it's good or bad, it just simply is at that point. So that's what life is.
It is what it is my favorite saying, Phoenix. It is what it is. No expectations, you don't get let down. You're not going to be devastated, You meet a guy, you go out on a date. You really like him, he doesn't call. You're expecting him to call, he doesn't call. And then you call one of us and say, when is he going to call? And if we don't see him calling, we tell you, we don't see him calling. Lose the expectations. You could have just saved yourself some money. You know what I'm saying?
Wonderful. So how can listeners use Mercury retrograde periods for reflection and revision of plans, projects, and relationships?
We kind of touched on this in the beginning. That Mercury retrograde, and I like to call it Mercury retrospect, because it's a time when we should be looking at where we are. Take a peek at where you've been. You don't want to spend too much time on that because it's over with. But look at where you are truly right now and look at where you want to be, and I'm talking about this in personal development, and we'll talk about vehicles and all that stuff in a second. But Mercury retrograde is really a time of personal development. Journal. Journaling is priceless. Of course, I'd get my car tuned up before Mercury retrograde hits, or at least an oil change or looked at, just it happens 3 to 4 times a year. Sometimes that's too many times to go to the mechanic, but you can just pull into a Midas or whatever and get an oil change, and they'll see if there's any problems. They always do those, what are they called, 12-point inspections or whatever. Make sure your car is ready for it. Go low on your electronics. Don't overuse them right before and during. Use them as little as possible because this is a time when you shouldn't be on them. That's why they malfunction. You're supposed to be looking inward at yourself and growing. And again, journaling, because that journaling is the most powerful part of Mercury retrograde. It's what helps you come out of it an upgraded person. And it's a beautiful, beautiful time to grow. Let chaos happen around you. Like the guy that is in the house and the house explodes into flames and he just walks out untouched in the movies. Be that guy. Let everything go to chaos around you. Don't let it in and change your projection in life. You are in control of. Power of choice is the strongest thing we've ever been given. And without it, there's no reason to really retrospect yourself.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Good points. We choose how we react to this and what we expect to get out of it. It's really in our hands.
Accountability is huge, Phoenix. In the 12-step program, they have this, I think it's step number 10. I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at that in years. I looked at it in college, but it's basically a nightly check-in where you review your day and decide, did I function at my best? Where was I wrong? Do I need to apologize to anybody? And I really, really liked that when I read it, because that is what's needed for accountability. I have a couple of 1-star reviews, and I just had a client call them out on them, saying, you're not being accountable. You don't want to hear the truth. And I was shocked by that, that somebody actually understood without any communication about it and called him out on accountability. There are people out there that are accountable. And I think it's part of our goal as a race to learn that accountability and to really be true to ourselves, to the universe, to our higher powers, our God. I call God the great creator. That's what God is. Created everything. That's my interpretation. Whatever your interpretation is, be clear, concise, and transparent. And that results in accountability. And when we have accountability, we can go ahead and see in our readings what we need to do without fighting it. We have no expectations. And when we have no expectations, we have no letdowns. So when Mercury retrograde comes into our lives, we're prepared for it. We're solid and can get through it. And Mercury can blaze through and cause all its problems and break our noses and put big lumps on our head. But at the end of the day, who survived? The retrograde or you? I hope that answered your question. I thought there was a little bit more to it, but I forgot it. Can you reread the question if I missed anything?
I believe it was, how can listeners use retrograde periods for reflection and revision of plans, projects, and relationships?
Plans, projects, and what?
Relationships.
Well, based on everything I said, that's the major tool.
Yes.
Accountability, honesty, transparency. You want to prepare, you want to be aware of. I wish people would read more. That's what it comes down to. You can get on Google and you can find out about the current retrograde. You can get on Google and find out about the current full moon. You don't have to be psychically gifted to understand these basic things. And when you do that, you put yourself in an awareness. And when you're aware, you're ready for it. Now, relationships and Mercury retrograde, that's a separate issue I want to touch on. Okay? That's totally separate from Googling. Relationships and retrograde take extreme patience, honesty, transparency, and love. And it's usually during retrograde when relationships that aren't going to make it fall apart because everything comes to the head. If you're one of those people who doesn't want it to all fall apart, then you practice the patience, the transparency, the accountability. If the other person can't get on board, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't force somebody to love you. But Mercury will reveal that almost time and time again if you're in the wrong relationship. Did I answer that?
Yes, I believe so. Thank you for sharing that. It's a good point. A lot of people don't want to hear that they're in the wrong relationship, but sometimes that's the truth. So it's really protecting us from these negative experiences. So wonderful. Let's move on to our next question then. Can you discuss the benefits of reviewing and reassessing plans and projects during Mercury retrograde?
I'm sorry. Say that. I'm afraid to fiddle with anything and I can barely hear you. So say it one more time.
I hope my volume's okay.
I think yours is, mine's not, but I'm not touching anything because
I don't know. I'm scared to touch it too because I don't want to mute myself.
right.
Actually, let me try something. Is that better?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Can you discuss the benefits of reviewing and reassessing plans and projects during Mercury retrograde?
Okay, so I'm having a little problem with my guides. Like the whole last segment we just did, I don't even remember it. My guides were talking about relationships. So can we go back to this question one more time now that I've got them shut down?
So the current one is, can you discuss the benefits of reviewing and reassessing plans and projects during Mercury retrograde? Plans and projects. The plans and the projects, like why would we reassess them? Why would we review them or revise them during this time specifically?
Okay. I'm going to put this as an example, okay? Let's say you're going to buy a car, okay? Mercury's retrograde. Salesman says 24,999. You hear 2,409. You guys sit down, you start writing up the contract, you start battling. You get what I'm saying? This is why we don't want to get into contracts. And if you do find yourself in that situation, you just slow down, start back from the beginning, and repeat everything over. The benefit is you're not going to get locked into something you didn't understand. And that is so common in Mercury retrograde. Now, like, let's say I'm planning on building a building and Mercury goes retrograde on dig day. Do I want to dig? Do I want to take that chance of hitting pipes, hitting electrical lines? Did we pick the right crew to contract with? It's just not worth the risk. So being steadfast and avoiding catastrophe is the biggest benefit you could have during Mercury retrograde, and keeping things from going awry. It's almost best, I hate to say this because it goes against my expectations, but it's almost best to anticipate what could happen wrong and then be aware of that. Don't expect it, but be aware of it. And I don't know if I have to explain the difference between being aware and expectations, but
I think that would be helpful, honestly.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'm walking down the street. Da, 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 da. I'm aware there's cars going by. Okay. Am I going to expect one of them to jump the curb and hit me? No, I'm not going to manifest that. An expectation becomes a manifestation. Being aware puts you in a place of safety where you can see the probable outcome, but you're not putting yourself in that probable outcome, nor are you manifesting it. You got to remember, our words, our thoughts, they're powerful. Everything medicine knows, they know the least about the brain. That is telling you right there how strong our brains are and what they can do. And manifesting, I've seen the craziest stuff just by expecting an outcome and manifesting it in a positive way. I've seen good things happen. But day-to-day expectations of other people is what you want to. Does that make sense? And say no if it didn't, Phoenix, because that was part guides, part me.
I like the analogy you used about the car and the walking down the street. That made sense to me. We can be aware of things around us, but we don't want to assume. Is it happening now or is it in my head? I think that's what you need to ask yourself.
Exactly. And you don't want to manifest it happening by seeing it over and over and over and over in your head and putting that energy out there. That's not, no. You want to do that, then you better start manifesting money, yachts, whatever. Good job. I've seen manifesting work. I can't deny it. It's the only exception to the rule of expectations that I know of. But yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So our next question is, what are some practical ways to approach reflection and revision during this time?
Meditation. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Get as close to your core as you can. I mean, if you got a free 5 minutes at work, go sit in a chair and just lock down into a short meditation. If you don't know how to meditate, you get on your phone. And there's guided meditations on YouTube. There's apps for it. Go see a psychic. Have her help you meditate, or him. Meditation, I would say, is the number one. Journaling goes right up there with meditation. Journal, journal, journal. Because your head's askew right now. And this is when you want to hear your thoughts. Because you want to know what to correct. All the stuff that's negative is going to come out. All the stuff that is unfruitful is going to come out. And you're going to be able to take it all away. So for that question, the primary would be the meditation. I teach meditation to so many of my clients because it's just a way of not just Mercury retrograde, life and self, but for Mercury retrograde, it is a number one survival tool. And then journaling would be the second. The thing about Mercury retrograde is it's all introspection. Would you guys shut up? You know what I mean? Introspection. My guides are yapping. I can't talk. It's all about looking inside. That's what I'm trying to say. And when you have to look inside for 4 weeks, it gets a little daunting. So you want to switch it up. Meditate, journal, meditate, journal. But there's no one that can really help you in your close family because they're all going through it too. And that's when it's a great time to reach out to a psychic and have some direction and a map planned out for you on how to tackle this and how to get through it and how to make the best of it for yourself.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. So these maps, these plans that the advisor will give you is different for each person, correct?
My gosh, yes, always. Because they're personalized. My path is going to be totally different than your path. Or maybe they're not, because we both love dogs. But you know what I mean.
But yes, it's good to, get your own personalized reading during this period. You don't want to just get a general because it's different for each individual. What works for one person may not work for you. It may not work for someone else.
I don't know if they still have newspapers, but it used to be that in the newspaper your horoscope was there. And it always cracked me up because it's like, Pisces, today is da 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 da. Do you know how many Pisces there are? How are you going to apply that to that? That's like when somebody comes in for a reading and they tell me the birth date's 10/15. Okay, what year? Because do you know how many Aarons are born on 10/15 worldwide? How am I supposed to find that energy? Give me the year. It's a psychic reading is precision. It's about you. It's about your path. And if done correctly, and I hope to God they always are, it is to bring you to your highest vibration so you are enjoying life as it should be, and you're learning what you need to learn, and you're achieving what you need to achieve. And it doesn't matter if Mercury's retrograde or not. There's a reason why we were created. There's a reason why people have third eyes and we're connected. And it's to help others. I tried to go the straight world. I taught at Cal Berkeley theology. Yeah, how'd that go for me? I craved giving readings the whole time. So we can't avoid what we do. It's a driven motivation from internal, and it's because people need it. And they especially need it during Mercury retrogrades.
True. So our next segment is what tools and practices can be included in a survival kit for Mercury retrograde. And I know you have something special planned for this section. So go ahead and share.
Paula, can you bring me the jar spell? The white one. Sorry, I forgot to prep this. Thank you, honey. So these are jar spells. And we can call them jar spells or we can call them talisman if that feels better with your religious beliefs. This is a wonderful way to get through Mercury retrograde. The reason being is you've already built, and you'll see it's white wax, just like we talked. This is the same as the recipe I gave you. So you're all free to make it yourself. I don't do this for money. I do it for love. But you can purchase these online, and you always want to have the candle that seals it and then an extra candle to burn next to it. And I keep them tied with some twine and let them burn all the way down. But it's all the same ingredients. And you can get these all over on the internet. Probably the most powerful talisman I know that can combat Mercury retrograde. And the beautiful part is when the candle burns down and the twine is off, you can just pop that puppy in your purse, your pocket. It's totally sealed. It's protecting you 100%. The extra candle is just to make it yours because it's pre-made. And it's going to go everywhere with you to protect you and keep you safe. They're easy to make if you have all the ingredients. I mean, if you're not one of us, you probably don't, but that's all right. I forget not everybody uses mugwort for bruises. But yeah, I mean, jar spells are so powerful because each element that is needed for your protection is put in there. And it's put in there purposely to protect you. So even if you buy it from another person, make sure there's an extra candle so that you can claim it as yours. Mine are sealed with the words "with love," knowing that it's going to be transferred to somebody else. That way, when they burn the white wax over it, it seals it and becomes theirs. And once that twine is gone, amen, put that puppy in your pocket, stride away knowing that you are a little bit more protected from the universe right now. And I don't mean the universe, I mean the solar system.
Great. Do you want to go over one more time again what those ingredients and process is, please?
I'd love to. Yeah, can I tell you? For
Yes.
real? We can do that again?
Yes.
Okay. So, in this puppy right here, at the very bottom, we have mugwort for psychic shield. Then we have marjoram. Remember the turkey? Everybody has it. The marjoram is in there for dealing with the unknown. We've got black salt for protection. We've got lavender for cleansing the mind of stress and intrusive thoughts. We've got mint, sorry, for spiritual enhancement. And then we have green adventurine for encouraging optimism and perseverance. And then on top of that, the blue lace agate for comforting and relieving emotional stress. So you're just going to stack them all up there. If you're going to do this at home, these are the little jars that I purchased to use to do them. You're going to cork it, burn your candle over it. I use a envelope press that says with love on it. Smack it down on there. And now the intention is it's going to go to its owner. But when you make it, you don't need the extra candle. You just seal this. You can carve your initials into the top, or you can just leave it all alone. Doesn't need to have any emblem on it. But when you make your own, you keep it with you at all times. You don't bother with burning a second candle. You just take the bottle that is wax sealed and at your nightstand at night. I make a big one for the nighttime. I have a big one, and I have an energy one that are by my bed. You also will want to keep it like in your purse or your pocket. It's there to help you. And it's everything the universe has given us to help ourselves. You know, we didn't have to create this on our own. It was already out there. The universe gave us all the ingredients. It just took figuring it out, which took thousands of years. But we did it.
How long do they last for, these jars?
I do one for each Mercury retrograde. Yeah, each Mercury retrograde is different. It's in different, houses. It's affecting differently. And I say have a new one for each one. Like I'm working on the one for the cold moon right now. They're each individual. Anything that you get into astrology wise is on that big complicated chart with all the different houses that everybody goes, oh God, I'm not dealing with that. So your protection wants to be in line with what's happening. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and then what do you do with the old ones from the previous period?
The best thing to do is go bury them, let the past die. There's no reason to keep them hanging around. You can keep them for a week after retrograde just because of the spin out. But past that, I bury them. It just makes it easier to let it go. People can throw them out.
Do you take the cork off and spread them out, or just bury the whole bottle?
No, I recycle, honey. No, I recycle. I take the cork off, I dump the contents into the ground, and peel all the wax off the jar, boil the jar, 90% alcohol on the cork top to cleanse it, and then she's ready to go again for a different one. I do not ever not recycle something that could be recycled. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have been clear on that. It's common practice for some of us, and I just didn't think, talking to the world.
Well, a lot of people ask, what do we do with it when we're done with it? That's a very common question that people ask about these things that require ingredients, even divination tools. What do we do when we're done with it? That's a great way. Give it back to the earth. Also, I've heard of burning these things too is another option.
Burning is always an option.
Mm-hmm.
You do have crystals in there, so you want to make sure that you're using copper to burn in, or the ground. But the herbs definitely can be burned, and a beautiful incense, actually. It'll smell nice between the marjoram, the mint, and the mugwort.
Okay.
Always recycle everything the earth has given us.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. I also recycle, and I've heard for some people that are having issues finding black salt. Some people say if you use ash from your incense or sage or herbs,
Yep.
you could even use the ash from your jar that you burned and add sea salt to it and mix it really good, and you can use that as black salt too. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so here's the thing. I've worked with black salt that is just incense, and it's really not black salt, it's gray salt, right? Let's be truthful and honest here. However, I've found when I use a charcoal to burn my incense, I get a darker ash and a darker covering on the salt. Believe it or not, it's not hard to find. You just got to know where to look. Amazon has black salt, and it's from a pretty reputable company. I've gotten it off of Etsy. But one of my favorite things to do is I go on Amazon or Etsy and I buy these witchcraft kits that have the little bags of herbs and the little bags of salts and all the little crystals. Yeah, because those are great for making jar spells with. And economical. But I find a lot of black salt in those. A lot. So that might be one way to look. But yes, I agree. You can make it with incense. I would suggest that you use charcoal incense in, resin rather than stick incense for the black salt. You'll get a darker color.
Interesting. Thank you for those tips. And black salt, I believe, can also be sprinkled in like doorways or windowsills for added protection as well.
Tell you a secret. When I moved into my apartment 5 years ago, not only did I smudge it, but I black salted the entire apartment, all the way around, every wall. And I renewed it a couple of years ago because I've been here now several years. And I have no regrets. People come into my house and say it's peaceful, and people come into my house and just open up. So I know it's peaceful.
Thank you for this insight, this discussion. And is there anything else you'd like to add on this topic of Mercury retrograde tonight?
Anything I want to add?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anybody's watched this far, get on Mysticsense. I don't care if it's me. Find somebody that you're drawn to and get a reading and find out how this next Mercury retrograde is going to go for you. Because there's just no way that it's going to be easy unless you solve.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers before we wrap up tonight on any topic?
Just thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest. And if you want to know more, come see me. I'm Psychic Mau. And it's Mau. It's the Egyptian form, go figure, look it behind me, of how to say cat. And you pronounce it like what a cat says, meow. So I'd love to have anybody who's seen this broadcast come see me. And
wonderful.
Thank you, Phoenix, for inviting me on this.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for watching this far. You can let Psychic Meow know that you've watched her whole podcast if you've made it this far. And when you do get your reading with her. And thank you so much everyone for being here, learning all about Mercury retrograde tonight and how to prepare and how to protect during this interesting cycle. And thank you for sharing your time, Psychic Meow. I appreciate you being here as well.
Thank you so much. And I do want to say, like, if anybody comes to get a reading from me between now and November 25th, if you request it, I will share my cold moon Mercury retrograde jar spell with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very interesting. Yes. So if there's nothing else, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We do appreciate you spending your time with us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you in the next podcast episode next Monday. And we hope to see you before then on Mystic Sense. Have a great night, everyone.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.